Hello, this is Curt Pringle. Thank you for tuning in to Talking Issues series. Today we have a great opportunity to really understand a lot behind local sports in Southern California. And not what you might think of local sports, not all the professional teams, of which there's some great ones, but also local sports from the collegiate to the community level. And I want to introduce you to a longtime friend of mine, Bill Shumard. Bill is known today as the President Emeritus of Special Olympics of Southern California. But let's hear his history, if you'll join with me. Welcome, Bill. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Curt. It's my honor to be here. Thank you.
So here you're a guy graduating from Long Beach State a few years ago, maybe, and in fact, interested in this whole realm of collegiate sports management and other things, and your first job really in that arena was with the Dodgers. Is that
actually, it was at Long Beach State. I was a student assistant in the athletic department, got a full-time job there right after I graduated. And so I was in the game, if you will.
Yes.
And spent a year there and about a year and a half at Cal State LA when the Dodgers called, and went there for almost 13 years. And not only were they tremendous Major League Baseball franchise.
Right.
They were one of the top 100 companies in America in those days. So that was like a 13-year graduate.
So when did you, how old were you when you started with the Dodgers?
I was the ripe old age of 24. And of course I was really smart.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So in media, I mean, we were talking earlier, you referenced you were at the journalism school or
majored in journalism
yes.
at Long Beach State, and wrote and really liked that. Tried to be an athlete, but was very mediocre. Played my way onto a lot of teams,
right.
So I was a great teammate, lousy athlete, and wanted to stay in sports and around sports. And I ironically, Curt, your passion sort of fuels your competence. And if I look at my life, the Dodgers moved here in 1958. I was 8 years old. They had a redheaded announcer by the name of Vin Scully, still in his 20s. And everybody had the transistor radio to their ear. Well, I'd fall asleep listening to Vinny and then get up and get the local newspaper, my cornflakes, and read the game story. Little did I know that my passion for the Dodgers and baseball was fueling my competence to write and to speak.
Yeah.
So I couldn't play, but I could write a little bit and I could speak a little bit. And who knew I would make a 50-year career out of it?
Yeah, no, but I mean, actually, what you just said is kind of an interesting encapsulation of this this continual evolution in media and coverage, right? I mean, you're talking about writing stories, newspaper stories, or listening in on the radio. And of course, you and I growing up, that's about where you got it, that you started seeing on a few occasions, few games covered on TV. And then something like this is being presented online and so many social media channels. And that whole realm of communication has changed so much over a lifetime.
It has. I don't think there are any more press conferences.
Right. Yeah. Or there shouldn't be. Or one of those. Some people like those, others don't, I guess. But with that, your passion then drove you to look into the athletic director realm at colleges. And...
I was a student assistant at Long Beach State, had a desk in the athletic department in the athletic news bureau. And so I was sort of in the game, and I'd see the athletic director and I'd say, cool guy, could I be that guy one day? And I didn't have anything going for me. I was a slightly above average student, mediocre athlete, no financial means. I had to work 2 jobs to get myself through college. But maybe I could be that guy one day. 25 years later, I was. And it wasn't that cool, but...
Right. Well, but I mean, the connection here in Southern California, you hit a couple of the Cal State system schools. In Fullerton first?
Actually, right out of Long Beach State. I was at Long Beach State and then Cal State LA for a year and a half before I went to the Dodgers. Needed to continue to pursue collegiate athletics and needed to learn fundraising.
Yeah.
So I went to a place where nobody does it better, USC. And, they never lose your address there.
Yeah.
They're asking for money the week after you graduate, I think. Right. And so went there for 3 years and got my feet wet with that and wanted to be an athletic director at a major college school that played football in Southern California. Well, that narrows the market. So It was either going to be Northridge or Fullerton or Long Beach, and Fullerton opened, and I got that job, and I was there for 3 years before moving to Long Beach.
So in those years, Fullerton played football.
They did, yeah.
Right.
I was there when we dropped it. It wasn't pretty. Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
So was that a motivating factor to go to Long Beach? Or?
Yeah, several reasons. Obviously, return to my alma mater. I know when I first got the call there, they said, we're building a pyramid. I said, yeah, right. Sure, you're building a pyramid. And it's been there for 25 years. So moved over there in conjunction with the opening of the pyramid. Carpenter Theater opened right next door to the pyramid on Atherton there. So big time for the university in terms of a huge step forward. So you great 10 years there.
So what year did you start over there?
I moved over there in 1994.
Oh, okay.
And
So I actually, my collegiate career, as limited as it was, I loved UCLA basketball. So that's the first place I went to school, and kind of didn't do that well at UCLA, but I went there because you could get student tickets for basketball games. So in that last year, Kiki Vandeweghe played. So of all the potential famous names, but then I went to Long Beach State because Tex Winter was the coach.
That's right. Yeah.
Craig Hodges played. But anyway, I digress. So athletic director of a very significant college that was looking maybe not at football, but other sports programs there.
Yeah, we had a sort of a limited reach because we had a $10 million budget, which sounds like a lot of money.
Right.
When Ohio State was spending $100 million a year, you could see the difference. But we targeted things that we knew we could be good at, and we were actually very good at them. When during my tenure, we would have 5 or 6 of our 13 sports ranked in the top 25. So we didn't do everything, but what we did, we were pretty good at. And I was proud of that. And we produced some good young people. Not many of them went to the next level. A few did, but a lot of them came out to be very solid citizens, husbands, wives, moms, dads, good professionals.
Right.
Yeah.
And volleyball was strong there.
Volleyball was strong. In fact, Misty May now lives in Orange County, and I'm interviewing her at an event a couple of months ahead, and I'm looking forward to that. She's had a great career.
Oh, that's great. So what is the job of a collegiate athletic director?
Well, I always say it's managing a square peg in a round hole in that it's a revenue centered piece of the university system in a non-revenue or a non-academic atmosphere. So there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with college athletics before you even walk onto the field to play. There's financial issues, there's legal issues, there are moral issues. So trying to keep all of that in good stead and win more than your share is a real challenge. But I love that challenge mainly because you get to surround yourself with people who want to win more than life itself, but they have to want to win the right way.
Right.
And so surrounding yourself with good people that you can trust is no easy feat, but we happen to do that pretty well at Long Beach State. We certainly won more than our share, produced some very good young people. And I think I know the academics on campus when I was there, they used to call our program, it was a pristine program. For an academic to say that, I really was proud of that.
Yeah.
I think we were a good campus citizen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And from that, during that experience, that's when you were introduced to Special Olympics?
Yeah, I ended up being athletic director at my alma mater and thought, why would I want to go anywhere else? I'll finish my career here. But I always tell young people getting into the business, build your network. You and I have been in the same network for probably 20 years.
Right.
And
I think longer than that.
Yeah, probably longer than that. Well, I met a guy while I was working at USC by the name of Patrick McClanahan. He was, at that time, he was general manager of CBS 2, KCAL 9, 2 TV stations under one roof, a sports guy and the parent of a special needs child. Well, he became president of the board of Special Olympics Southern California. They were looking for a new home for their biggest annual event, which was Summer Games. Draws 10,000 people, 1,500 of our athletes, 2-day activity. He'd been at UCLA for 25 years. but they were shopping. And so they called us. Our mayor was Beverly O'Neill at that time. President was Bob Maxon. I checked with them. They said, yeah, go, whatever we need to do, let's get them at Long Beach. We made the bid, and they made the decision to come. And so Patrick said, gee, Bill, you should come on the board of directors, which I did, which I was honored to do. But I watched, Curt, a revolving door. I ended up being the fourth CEO in 7 years. So a lot of instability within the organization. Finally, Patrick called me one day and he said, Bill, I know your president's retiring. You need to come and run this organization. I said, Patrick, I don't know anything about running a charity. I'm a sports guy. And he said, exactly. This is the world's largest sports organization. You can run it like a first-rate sports organization. Yeah. Please come. So prayed about it, talked to my network about it, and made the decision to go. Thank God I did. But when I walked in to meet the staff, Patrick introduced me to 50 people. The only thing they know about me is that I'm the fourth flavor of the month. Yeah. And okay, what's this guy got to say? Just don't bother me. And I said, we will, this is a worldwide sports organization. Southern California will be the premier program in this worldwide organization. I got a lot of deer in the headlights. What? And we'll be the best. That's what sports are all about. And some people left. A lot of them stayed, and a lot of them came back. I don't know if it was a mistake or not, but I read Good to Great, Jim Collins, right before that. So I took all those concepts and applied it to this one. Figured the one thing we do better than anyone else in the world, provide sports training and competition to people with intellectual disabilities. Everything else is negotiable. Yeah. And so slowly but surely, the staff that stayed came back and said, we get it now. And so the bar was very low, but we took off pretty quickly.
No, that's awesome. And you know, I think everybody knows who Special Olympics is. Yes. Right. But maybe we could reel back and really when you emphasize it's the largest sports organization in the world. I mean, I think people kind of miss the fact that today somewhere around 5 million athletes participate in 190 countries or something like that. Yeah. Worldwide. It's spectacular. But this was established by very forward-thinking people. Eunice Shriver in 1968.
Shriver.
And the mother of Maria Shriver and many other folks within the Kennedy clan are associated there. But, you know, tell us about the foundation of Special Olympics, because when you're running the biggest division of that in Southern California, you certainly understand the organization, the national/international organization of Special Olympics. Well,
you and I, Curt, grew up watching the Kennedy family and learning about them. Huge family. Eunice had a sister, Rosemary, with intellectual disabilities. They didn't know a lot about those things in that day, but Eunice had a tremendous amount of empathy for her sister. So she would bring Rosemary's friends, and they would participate in sports at the Kennedy compound. Pretty good backyard. And Eunice began to see that sports taught some very good basic lessons to people who really needed that training, and so a movement was born. That was in sync with John F. Kennedy becoming president, because Eunice was the one that got a lot of legislation passed to benefit people. You know, you watch some awful film in the past where they were institutionalized, and even some put in cages. Extremely sad. Eunice would have nothing to do with that, and was a fierce advocate for people with intellectual disabilities. The rumor was that President Kennedy had someone on his staff said, "That's my sister. Keep her away from me, because she always wants something." And
I hear she always wins.
Too. Yeah, she does. Yeah, Eunice was great. And you know, one thing I heard a lot when it went, it's just Special Olympics. People have no idea of the athletic ability and the courage and the joy that these athletes have. Eunice was one of the first to recognize that. And one thing I always loved that she'd tell the athletes, when you lose, you don't cry. You go home, you get better, and come back and get them.
Yeah. No, I was telling you earlier, had one meeting with Governor Schwarzenegger up at his house, and Miss Shriver was there, helping set up a ladies' luncheon in the backyard. And I had my chance of talking to her, and she, grabbed my cheek properly as a person of, that culture would.
Yes.
And it was very nice. So that was my single cheek squeeze by Una Shriver. But it really does show. I mean, there's always going to be discussions about the strengths of families, significant families. So that family with Sergeant Shriver, Una Shriver's husband founding the Peace Corps, and then she finding Special Olympics, and then growing to this level. I mean, how engaged is the Shriver Kennedy family involved in Special Olympics to this day?
Well, Maria's brother Tim is the chairman of the board of the International Special Olympics International. So he heads the worldwide organization. Typical Kennedy, handsome, articulate. It's just not fair. Yeah. But great guy, and Maria, of course, great person. And they're, they've got a lot of stuff that the Kennedy Shrivers are involved with. But when you need them, they're there. When you need them, they're there.
So the worldwide organization. So there are chapters in multiple countries. Again, I had seen somewhere over almost 200 countries, and those chapters are similar to the chapter of the Southern California Special Olympics chapter?
Great question, Curt. There's a chapter in every state in the United States of America, and two in California. That's a whole different meeting, and one in Washington D.C. So there's 52 chapters in the United States, and then one each in like another 189 countries. Right. And so that makes up Special Olympics International.
And they come together in World Games?
We come together just like the other Olympics,
yes,
and the Paralympics.
Right.
Every 2 years, winter, and the next 2 years, summer.
Are they on the same cycle?
Yes, same. No, I'm sorry. We're a year apart. Okay. Paralympics are on the same cycle.
Right.
And then we'll do a national games the year leading up to the Olympics, so that athletes can qualify there at the national games to go to the World Games. Yeah.
So has California had the World Games? Is that?
Yes, we in fact huge moment, and I've been involved, thank God, in my career in World Championships, national championships, Rose Bowls. Probably the greatest thrill for me was we were the host program for the 2015 Special Olympics World Summer Games. 6,000 athletes, 165 countries coming together for 8 days of competition in 22 sports. Opening ceremonies live from the Coliseum, 1 hour highlight show on ESPN. That's what made us legitimate. We took Special Olympics to ESPN, and people, you guys are a sports organization, aren't you?
Yeah.
And so bringing the World Games here was a game changer. It changed obviously our fundraising. We started getting, as I was telling you, funding from the state of California. We got Kaiser Permanente stepped up, and they've been our official medical provider since then. We brought in Unified Sports, got the CIF engaged in getting high school teams with members of the student body to play on the same team with our athletes. So this is pro-inclusion, pro-diversity, anti-bullying, just great stuff. And so our athletes are now on high school campuses wearing a bona fide Letterman jacket. And I knew what that meant.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Oh, no, that's awesome. You said 22 sports. What are the various sports?
My gosh. Way more than we compete in Southern California.
Right.
I think when I stepped down, we were doing 15 sports.
From all the track and field sports.
Yeah. All the track and field sports, and canoeing, and swimming, and equestrian, and soccer, and softball, and basketball, and volleyball, and water polo, you name it. not breakdancing yet. I saw breakdancing.
Right. Well,
Break
I don't think you need to spend your time on that. So,
but yeah, 22 Sports was really, it was a courageous venture, but we pulled off it. Roughly $100 million had to be generated in cash, in-kind services, and in-kind goods. So that's not the Olympics, but 100 million, you're kind of getting in that ballpark.
So then your leadership has been, you were there over 15 years as president, and your leadership has been with the Southern California division. And how many athletes in Southern California participated?
We were, when I came in, we were serving 8,000 athletes. Average age was 37. We were dying on the vine. And took a year, developed a strategic plan, got the board to buy in, made the investment in more staff so that we could grow, and then the recession hit. And so all that got folded up. We were coming out of the recession. We got the opportunity to host World Games, and we did. And we brought in unified sports, which got the high schools involved with unified sports. So in my tenure, we went from 8,000 athletes, average age was 37, to 38,500 athletes, average age was 16. So we got more, and we got them younger, so we could change their lives for the rest of their lives.
Oh, that's
so pretty fun stuff. And like I say, you see, our sports is a great vehicle in our society. Curt, it teaches, it entertains, it sells, it motivates. It's also a microcosm of society, both good and bad.
Right.
Just look at the news every day.
Right. Oh.
I think Special Olympics is everything that's good and right about sports.
Okay.
And when people come and see our athletes, that we had no idea. We had no idea.
Yeah. No, that's great. And your athletes are all people with intellectual disabilities.
Right. And some with physical disabilities.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know if it bridged that. Yeah. So explain, define intellectual disabilities.
Well, you have to be diagnosed by a medical professional that you have intellectual disability, whether that's autism, brain damage, Down syndrome. There's a wealth of things there.
Right.
A significant amount of those athletes that have intellectual disabilities also happen to have physical disabilities, and of course, you'll see them compete with great courage and great stamina.
Right.
And that's very moving, very touching. There are other very physically fit and very talented athletes who happen to have an intellectual disability, who put up the numbers and the performances that are almost Olympic worthy. I mean, we have some incredible athletes.
How do you recognize, I mean, is it a traditional 3-medal system of awarding, or is there other ways to look at that recognition?
I don't think UNIS was ever. UNIS had 2 cardinal rules. Number one, nobody pays to play. Nobody pays to play. So that's incumbent upon the organization to generate the funds so that everybody can play. And secondly, this isn't kindergarten where everybody's parent gets a bumper sticker because you showed up. No, we give 3 medals, and you win one of those. And if you don't win one, you don't cry. You go home and you get better. And those were her 2 steadfast cardinal rules. And so we've always...
So in this time of everybody should be treated equal.
Yeah.
And I know some of the complaints and folks in neighborhood community sports is that everybody got their medal, but this is focusing on truly being competitive and working hard, and the accomplishment means something.
Right, exactly. And every Special Olympics athlete, they're uniformed and dressed in an appropriate manner. When I showed up for my first event, Curt, I saw 2 teams standing next to each other. One had on $200 Laker warm-up suits, and the team next to him had on Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah.
And I hear people say, it's just Special Olympics. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Now you look at, and they wear their uniforms with pride because they look good. Mm-hmm. So they play hard. They play good. But you compete to win. And Eunice is great. The athlete, let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. And I would tease the athletes. I said that brave in the attempt, it only goes so far. You need the bling. You want to get the bling. So our athletes are really something to behold.
So tell us where you, with all your experience serving that community, what are some of the stories, the strongest stories that have impressed you over your time?
Oh my gosh, there are so many of them. We hired a young man, Dustin Plunkett, one of our great athletes, and just a really tough family situation. Overcame a lot of adversity. You could tell he was a real leader. Patrick McClanahan hired him on the World Games staff, and Tim Shriver's organization in D.C., they had plans to move him to D.C. And so I told Dustin, I said, don't go back there unless you're sure that that's what you want to do. And he said, I'm going to go back there and I'm going to talk to the athletes because I want to know, did they treat them like colleagues or did they treat them like mascots? And I thought, wow, is that profound? I said, Dustin, you turn them down. You come see us. We'll put you on staff and we'll treat you as a colleague. He's been there ever since. But the other great story about Dustin is that ESPN hired him for the World Games as he became an expert commentator because he was obviously well-versed in Special Olympics. But they called him One Take Dustin. Now, you've done enough, Curt, to know you very rarely do things in one take. But he was One Take Dustin. He was showing up some of the hired help. And so you see people like Dustin. You see Paul Hoffman's become a good friend. He's in his 60s now, and he lives right over here in Fullerton. He was the first guy I met. He and I shared a podium together in my first month on the job. And that weekend, somebody was delivering something to my house, and it was a guy that had a weekend job because his full-time job was with the Fullerton Union High School District. And he sees my card. He said, "You a Special Olympics?" I said, "Yeah, I just started." He said, "You know a guy named Paul?" And I said, "Narrow that down." He said, "Guy's name is Paul Hoffman." I just spoke with him last week. Why? He goes, "I work for the Fullerton Union High School District. Best employee in our district. Best employee." I thought, yeah. How about that? How many people know that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, you said your average age is 16.
Yeah,
relatively
we've
now.
been able to lower it.
But there's no maximum age participation.
In fact, you see, we have a sport called bocce, Italian sport, right? Lawn bowling. You dress up and it's really, really cool. That is a really great sport for our older athletes and our less physically adaptable athletes because they can go out there and play bocce. And they actually trash talk each other. Well, I'm not CEO anybody. Hey, watch that over there.
Right.
Yeah. And coaches, they sandbag. Just like no, my team's not an A team. My team's we belong in the C division. No, come on, you've got the best team around. You're in the A division. Yeah. So you see sandbagging, trash talk, just like you see anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. I had read somewhere that people with intellectual disabilities is the largest segment of people defined it with disabilities. As we may see in Paralympics or other things that seem to be more prominent or in the forefront, intellectual disabilities is a very large segment of our population.
5% of our population, Curt, and we like to refer to them as the last truly underrepresented segment of society.
Right.
And it is our distinct honor to be their ambassadors.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's great. And, I know you're a man of faith, and that is part of a lot of your decisions and involvement. So how did that lead you to this job?
Great question. I spoke earlier of Patrick McClanahan, the chairman of the board, who hired me. Pat also happens to be a brother in Christ, and as he's pitching me to take this job and appealing to my tender ego, you need to be a first-rate sportsman. Only you know how to do that. And then he said, besides, Bill, you know what Jesus said in Matthew? He said, the least of these, caring for the least of these. And, it's funny, Curt, because after then spending a lot more time with our athletes and to see their childlike faith, transparency, vulnerability, I went back to Patrick and I said, Jesus also said in Matthew that to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must come as a little child. And I said, I think we better get in line behind all that. So great faith builder for me. Who knew that God was going to make my last job? My family moved around a lot when I was young. It wasn't very good, but I like to say I played my way onto a lot of teams. And when I got a shirt and a hat, I belonged, and I fit in the neighborhood. To be able to serve that group, to get a shirt and a hat and uniform and belong, because they really belong. We are not only their competitive center, we're their social center, we're their network. Right. It's very humbling and gratifying to say, wow, I got to finish doing that. What a great lesson.
And even though that's a perfect way to end, I do want to throw a little caveat on the ending. You said your last job serving in Special Olympics. It really isn't, because you are teaching in the graduate program at Long Beach State for sports management.
Yes.
And yes, that's a program that you brought to Long Beach State so that people who had your passion out of high school and through college could hone it in sports management through a collegiate level.
Now I'm back teaching and mentoring them and telling them, this isn't rocket science. This is sports.
Right.
And there's hard work, character, integrity, showing up, being loyal, being faithful. That's what it takes to get a job in sports. Same formula. If a guy like me can do it, you can certainly do it. So it's been a great privilege.
You are really somebody that I've looked up to, and it's great to call you the President Emeritus of Special Olympics Southern California. So thanks for being here, Bill.
Absolutely. My honor. Thank you, Curt.